Hey, I can hear you. You're good in your
I'm
phone?
good. I'm
How does
good.
that look, Chuck?
I think we ready to roll.
All right, Kevin, how are you, man?
Good, good. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I haven't spoken to you. I haven't spoken to you in forever. I don't.
It's it's,
It's been since
it's
I. Okay, so I'll just fill Joe in, and then I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. We were freshmen together
Okay.
at the Oaks,
Okay.
Peterson Hall.
Okay.
We got it popping.
Yes.
And Kevin's an athlete, so we played ball together the whole nine. Kevin's the I'll put it like this. As a flag football quarterback,
Okay.
I was pretty horrible.
Okay.
I had one play though,
Uh huh.
deep to Kev. It was over every time. Every
The
time.
Dante Culpepper.
Every time. That's the only thing I could do was to throw a deep ball.
Dante Culpepper and
And
Randy
every
Moss.
time this dude beat somebody, touchdowns, like it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Kev, would you tell this dude what we used to do, man?
we did. We definitely put in work on that football field at the Oaks for sure.
They could not catch him. Could
Uh-huh.
not catch him. Man, that's all I could do. I was horrible. I was hard because I'm not. I never played flag football. I played football,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't a quarterback either.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I was a baseball pitcher, so I had the arm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had the arm, and I knew the game. You know what I'm saying? And plus, I was the captain of the team, so I was going to be the quarterback. And they was trying to tell me like, "Yo, you can't do this. You're not fast enough. This is you know what I'm saying?"
But it's your team.
Right, right. But I never understood that you got to be able to run fast to be a flag football quarterback. Except for Mr. Roddy, he didn't run nowhere. But they had the 17 misdirections.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Roddy had that bad hip the whole time I was there. He was still pump faking people to death.
Right, right. Kev, those days, the good old days, right?
They were the good old days. I miss those days.
Kev, real quick, please introduce yourself to the council. Tell us where you're from. It's very important that we identify where you're from and what teams you root for and what sports you enjoy the most.
Sure. So, Kevin Ballard down here in sunny South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I pride myself on college football. That is my expertise, and that's the sport that I enjoy over all others.
Okay. And what team? What's your favorite team? Do you have one, or you
Uh,
just
Yes, the University of Alabama.
really?
Not sure if you know, but when I left the Oaks, that's where I went, and I have to pull for the alumni and the Crimson Tide.
Okay.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. No doubt.
Roll Tide, roll.
No doubt. And honestly, since then, though, Florida has kind of exploded in college football with the really the idea of FIU, um, Central Florida, South Florida, all really stepping up into big time football. Has that changed the scenery at all now that you're adding those other programs to Miami, Florida State, and Florida, the classic programs?
It really has, Joey. From the South Florida standpoint, if you look at the teams now, the strong teams that are in Florida, some of your powerhouses are down. So the University of Miami, they're down right now, losing consecutive games to Duke and Georgia Tech. And then you look at the University of Florida that back in the days were winning championships under Steve Spurrier. They're also down right now. And then Florida State. I've never seen Florida
Trash.
State as down as they are right
It's
now.
bad.
Really struggling just to make 500. And the teams that were starter teams kind of coming along when we were in college, like FIU, FAU, UCF, and South Florida, are emerging now within the state, and those are the teams that are actually in the top 25.
Right. Well, and honestly, UCF is the defending national champion.
Every week I have to hear this.
They're the defending national champion. Until you get a real tournament, I'm calling them a champ.
Yeah.
And, they still haven't lost. They're like 22 games in or something like that.
Joey
So,
believes in FIU. He believes in them.
UCF.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's happening with recruiting, though, is there has those new programs, those upstart programs come in, has that recruiting affected the traditional programs? Is that kind of what chipped away at the power from the three traditional schools?
Most definitely. One of the things that the schools that are up and coming have done, they've done a good job of hiring very experienced coaches, head coaches. If you look at, for instance, UCF had Scott Frost, who's now at Nebraska. He came in, he definitely hit the recruiting trail, competing with the same kids that University of Miami, Florida, and Florida State would typically have gotten to the school. You have Lane Kiffin, who was the previous offensive coordinator at University of Alabama, who's now at FAU. He's able to go in and walk into these kids' houses with the rings that he's gotten from University of Alabama and sell these kids on coming to the school. So the talent is getting spread out, whereas there were three schools previously where all the talent was going.
Right.
It's now starting to spread out, and the playing field is getting level.
Right. And what's interesting is it's not that they necessarily have less first-team talent, but that second and third team that they used to have now plays for the other schools. Is that a fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is a fair statement.
Wow, it's very interesting, and it's about time, because what you see is coaching goes a long way in college football, and so does recruiting. The combination of two will give you Nick Saban. Most people have one or the other. So those traditional powers, and, Steve Spurrier was never a good coach for real, good recruiter. Bobby Bowden, it passed him 10 years before he retired. Okay, and of course Miami, they bring in great recruiters that end up getting suspended or fired because they do business a little bit different. And what you have now is that those programs were relying on recruiting more than the coaching, and the new programs have the coaching. That's also getting enough recruiting to accentuate their coaching to a point where they're better now than the traditionals.
I would definitely have to agree with that. Good coaching, good processes that are put in place. I know if anybody watches Alabama football, Nick Saban talks a lot about the process. It's about the process. The scheme, being able to go out and be flexible with the schemes that they're running, and that makes a difference. You don't always have to have the most talented, the fastest, the biggest players now. You can out-scheme another more talented team. That's why we have the upsets that we see around college football, where teams are getting flat out coached, and there's no other value like having a good coach that can know the X's and O's. The talent always helps, but the coaching definitely.
So
where the buck is.
Here's another perspective, and you let me know if I'm off base on this. I totally forgot what I was about to say.
So we can just move on to the next thing. Let's talk about the Tide.
Hold on, give me a second.
It's okay. We can move forward.
What was it?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. What I was going to say was that the dynamic of the Power 5 schools when it comes to hiring coaches is they want to take your coach, meaning you develop a mid-level program into a powerhouse. That's the guy they want, right? So they're going to take you. And whether you're a good coach or not, because at that point, it could just be that you're a good recruiter or you're in a conference where you can be good enough to be at the top for a few years. You're going to get poached by the big Power 5 schools. Mm-hmm. After you fail for 2, 3, 4 years, you get fired, right? But those 3, 4 years, you developed into a better coach. And now these smaller programs pick you back up, and you're not even thinking about jumping anymore as quickly. Lane Kiffin comes to mind with this. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's going to jump at some point, right? But now he's been through so much, he's got to sit there for 3, 4 years before he even thinks about it. Does that make sense, Kev?
It does. It does. And, you know, when you look at these big schools, that's where these coaches want to be. These mid-level coaches that coach at the mid-majors, they want to be in the big league. They want to be in the Power 5. They want to compete for the college national championship.
And that Power 5 money is real.
So if they have success at those schools, those big schools will bring them in. I think of coaches like Gus Malzahn from Auburn. He started as a high school coach and ended up getting a job at a mid-level school and had success. And Auburn picked him up as an offensive coordinator, and he won a national championship with Gene Chizik. They got rid of Gene Chizik, and then he became the Auburn coach. So that's where it is right now. They're looking. These big schools are looking for next level talent, looking for the next wave, the next offense, the next defensive scheme that can get them ahead of the curve. And football is ever evolving, just as business does.
All right. Let's a couple of news pieces in college football today. Bobby Petrino fired at Louisville.
Shocker.
All right. Do you have any insight on that, Kev?
As to why they pulled the trigger, I think
it's because he sucks.
If you look at the product, on the field, you can clearly see that Louisville was headed in the wrong direction. And it almost seemed as though Bobby Petrino had lost the team. Louisville was a very successful program under Bobby Petrino a couple of years back. As many of you all know, Bobby Petrino, this is his second term at Louisville. This time around, he didn't get or inherit the riches that he did the first time. This time around, he had to work with what he had to try to turn it around. Lamar Jackson going to the NFL early didn't help. He basically had to start with what he had, and he just has been having a really hard time turning that around. And after the losses that he's experienced this year to some of the teams that he was losing to, you could really see the writing on the wall. So that wasn't surprising at all.
His story of his collapse is just incredible. He ran from Louisville to the Falcons, blew that up. Went from the Falcons to, where did he go after the Falcons?
Well, actually, he was at Arkansas.
Yes.
And then went to the Falcons.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he went from Louisville. Louisville to Arkansas, from Arkansas to the Falcons. Had a little hiatus for a year or so, then back to Louisville.
Correct.
And now he's done. He's done.
He'll get another gig. Don't worry.
I don't know. Do you think he gets another Power 5 gig?
I'm not sure about a Power 5, but for a mid-major, he'd be a good pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you can deal with some of the off the field issues, because there's
Correct.
some couple of
That really didn't help as much either. Your string is a little bit shorter when you come with off the field issues, and we all know that he's had his fair share of those.
right. You know, it's funny because what they would have done to a player that had similar issues probably would have never gotten another chance like that. Not to lead a team. It's incredible that he got another Power 5 job.
It really is. And in today's world of coaching, what matters the most are wins, and programs look at wins because wins put butts in the seats. Butts in the seats equate to money, and that's a big part of college football today.
All right, let's look at a few scores from the top, let's say the top 15 over the weekend. The aforementioned Louisville Cardinals crushed by Syracuse 54-23. Syracuse has a very interesting position right now because they can really mess up some stuff, huh, Kev?
Absolutely. Dino Babers is doing a wonderful job with that Syracuse team. They're playing tough-nosed defense. They've got a quarterback that is outstanding. He's really doing well right now. And Eric Dungy, that quarterback, completed almost 65% of his passes in Saturday's game. I really look for them to cause a lot of trouble for Notre Dame. And honestly, I predict them to upset Notre Dame this Saturday and get that win.
So just a quick note about that you know most people aren't going to realize. So that game's at Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium has kind of become a home for college football once the baseball season is done. They host a bowl game, the Pinstripe Bowl, and so on and so forth. I believe who plays in that bowl now with the realignment, I believe it might be maybe 4th or 5th in the Big Ten versus 4th or 5th in the ACC or something like that. I'm not quite sure on how they do it. But this atmosphere Saturday at Yankee Stadium for Notre Dame and Syracuse, if you were to take a poll of New York City college football fans, those are the two programs that are going to get the most fans. Because, you know, the alumni, the Syracuse alumni, the Notre Dame alumni, very, very heavy in New York City. So that's going to be a actual neutral environment in Yankee Stadium, the house that Jeter built, for this game.
And you really think there could be an upset this week with that one?
I do. I think Syracuse, number one, will have the advantage with the crowd in the stands. If you look at Syracuse being a New York-based program, when Syracuse plays on the NCAA basketball side in the tournament, and the tournament is in Madison Square Garden, you can see the number of Syracuse fans that pour into Madison Square Garden to support the Orange. Saturday, this game is going to be in New York, and Syracuse, which is a nice car ride down to the city. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere with Syracuse. I think Syracuse defensively is going to play tough. Notre Dame and Brian Kelly announced that Ian Book is going to be coming back. He was out last game with injury. Does Ian Book come back the same Ian Book as he was before injury? That's yet to be told. And this atmosphere that he's going to come into is going to be a hostile one. So it's going to be a great game. I predict Syracuse to win this game, but they'll have to earn it.
Right, and there are CFP play, the playoff implications for this game are big because Notre Dame, I believe, has 2 tough games left: Syracuse and USC. Either of those games they could lose, and then that would throw the college football playoff rankings into a little bit of a frenzy. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I really think that Notre Dame's major hurdle is this week with Syracuse. Unfortunately, USC is down this year. They're struggling to get to a bowl game right now. Their record is really bad. They're not the same USC that we're accustomed to. So Notre Dame, if they can get past Syracuse this week, they pretty much got an easy road to the college football championship.
Right.
They actually, believe it or not, benefit over a lot of the other Power 5 schools because Notre Dame doesn't have to play a conference championship game because they're not in a conference. So that's one tough game against the other side of the conference that they don't have to play. So they really are in a good position to really just walk their way into the college football playoff if they can get past the game this weekend.
All right. Additional scores. Number 1, Alabama continues their undefeated season. Second consecutive shutout against a ranked team. This time 24-0 over Mississippi State. I did watch this game. It was Alabama's offense for the first time did not look like they were in complete control. Tagovailoa looks like he was very gimpy, a lot of limping. He took a lot of hits. And I believe he threw an interception, possibly 2, but he took a lot of hits. He was sacked potentially 4 or 5 times. So it was probably his roughest game, and Bama still came out 24-0. What is the diagnosis on Tagovailoa? Is there some danger here that he could miss time? He's probably not going to play versus Citadel, just my guess, and maybe get a couple weeks off before the SEC championship game. But potentially, could he be hurt, and could there be an effect on this team? And where would Jalen Hurts be? Because I know he had surgery recently. So what's the whole dynamic there with Tagovailoa's injury?
So today, Nick Saban came out and he made a statement.
I don't believe a word Nick
Tagovailoa
Saban ever says.
Will be playing in the Citadel game, and that he is okay. I feel a little nervous looking at Tagovailoa because you could clearly see in this Mississippi State game that he was not himself. He took a couple good hits. Mississippi State, a lot of NFL talent on that defensive line, statistically in the top 5 in college football in total defense and points allowed. So they were a formidable opponent from the defensive side. Unfortunately, on the offensive side, Mississippi State has struggled all year with putting points on the board, and Alabama has a suffocating defense that didn't really help that situation. But Tagovailoa may not be able to play the entire game. I anticipate Saban will start him as he said he would, but I think that he'll be on a short rope. Citadel coming into the game, heavy underdogs, not really a chance in this game. I think at the end of the first quarter, mid-second quarter, we see a change in quarterback. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Jalen Hurts is also suffering from an injury, which we know is pretty serious because he was not warming up prior to the Mississippi State game, and this is his second game that he has been unavailable to back up Tagovailoa. And they're able to get through these games without those two, but next week against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, where everything is unpredictable, they're going to need a healthy Tua and at best a Jalen Hurts that can fill in to get the Tide through that rivalry game.
So wait a minute. So I thought, okay, so the Iron Bowl is this weekend coming.
No, it's
the
next
following
We got
weekend. Okay, it's Citadel.
this weekend,
Okay,
and
Citadel
then
this
the
weekend.
Iron Bowl Thanksgiving weekend.
okay, all right. Number 4, Michigan. If I'm Rutgers, I don't even go to that game anymore. 'Cause it's a joke. It's a joke. Like, Rutgers does not belong in the Big Ten. Kev, you don't know, but I hate the college football realignment. I hate what it did to college basketball. I hate the fact that Big Ten schools have been coming into New York and New Jersey for years, taking the players, and then Rutgers goes and basically gives them the key to the New York metropolitan area. Because now that we're playing you and the kids that you're recruiting see us crushing you, what's going to happen?
You don't want to go to Rutgers.
You not, and it's getting worse.
Out of here.
So they have been falling and falling and falling since Shiano was gone, and they decided that they wanted to join the Big Ten. So this is what they get: 42-7, Michigan over Rutgers.
Yeah, this is my team right here. What do you think about Michigan?
What are Michigan's chances? Do they have a chance really to proceed to win? Well, first of all, they do have a little bit of issue making the college football playoffs because of Ohio State.
Yeah, we play Ohio State not this week, but the following week.
Right.
So that'll be hashed out.
All right. So, Kev, the Big Ten standings, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan's position in the college football playoffs, are they solid? What are the chances that they could actually fall out based on the rest of their schedule?
So, like our good friend LaJuan often says, Michigan. I actually like Michigan's chances in making the college football playoff. Michigan's defense is a top 3 defense in the college football right now. They have experienced starters. They returned 11 of 11 defensive starters this year. I knew Michigan's defense would be stout. They came out and lost that first game against Notre Dame. The defense began to gel, and they've been dominating opponents all season. Next week, they do come up against their foe, which is Ohio State. I think this will be a critical game that will decide a lot in the college football playoffs. I'm not sold on the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes have not been themselves. They cannot run the ball. They've been throwing the ball. Last week, Haskins threw the ball 50 times. That's not how Ohio State wins football. Michigan's defense is number 1 against the pass. So I would take Michigan in that matchup. I think Michigan's defense will be too much for Ohio State. Ohio State got thumped 2 weeks ago by a Purdue team that's mid-level in their conference. I think Michigan beats Ohio State, not only enters the college football playoff, but to their benefit will jump Notre Dame and that 3 spot due to their strength of schedule and avoid that first-round playoff bid against the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Okay.
Yeah, stay away from them to the championship game if you can.
If you can. Number 5, Georgia, 27-10 over Auburn. We are kind of already know where they stand. They definitely need a win versus Alabama in the SEC championship game to even have a shot. Number 6, Oklahoma, in a very tight one versus Oklahoma State, 48-47. They need to obviously continue to win out. There's a chance that they could tie for the regular season of the Big 12, which would then create an additional Big 12 game, a Big 12 championship to settle that. So there is a chance that Oklahoma and West Virginia tie for Big 12 championship. They play each other in the regular season, and then they could potentially, if West Virginia wins that game, play again the following week in what would be a Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
And the winner, at that point, Oklahoma's probably done. If they lose to West Virginia the first time, they're pretty much done. Is that right, Kev?
That is correct.
Okay.
And Oklahoma, they're a very good team offensively. Kyler Murray, he is on my Heisman list. Dynamic quarterback, has the speed of any wide receiver or running back out there. But Oklahoma doesn't play any defense.
Right.
Giving up
same story. That's like a 15-year-old story.
45 points. Every game, they're giving up half 100. You
Right.
go win college football championships with no defense. I don't care how many points you score.
So if
I think that'll be their Achilles heel.
if they make it in there with that 4 spot, you think Alabama's going to put up 100 on them?
I think that
75.
I think that Alabama will score at will, but Oklahoma won't be able to
Right.
score the way they are able to score in the Big 12.
Right. So, by the way, Kyler Murray is my favorite college football player, only because he's also a baseball player. That's why. He's in his last
And a very wealthy one.
and a very wealthy one. He's the wealthiest college football player out there right now, probably. After I believe, what did he get? He got like 5 or 7 million. Drafted 10th in the MLB draft. He took the signing bonus. So in the MLB draft, you have an option. You take the contract or you go back to school. He took the contract, and the Oakland A's then allowed him to come back for this Heisman campaign.
Oh, nice.
So he's out here, the $5 million check.
But he probably will not be playing football. You don't think?
Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
He's done. This is it.
Even if he wins a Heisman,
This is his glory days.
Okay.
This is a Charlie Ward scenario. He's done.
Okay.
He's already paid. He just took the check, cashed it. It's in the bank. You know what I mean? Mama already got the house. It's done.
Okay. Okay.
It's done. So I root for him to have that fabulous season so that his story can continue to be great, and then hopefully he makes it to the majors. Once this is over, he's going to disappear for a few years. Hopefully he'll make it to the majors and have an impact, if not for the Oakland A's, for somebody else, and be the Ricky Henderson that everybody projects him to turn out to be. So we'll see. Let's see. Other top scores. Michigan State with the loss to Ohio State. That keeps Ohio State alive. That was a 26-6 game. UCF, the defending national champions.
Oh boy, here we
continue
go.
on their campaign to repeat as national champions, 35-24.
Paper champions.
The Florida Gators, 35-31 over Southern Cal. Texas, 41-34 over Texas Tech. Northwestern, the Big 12, the Big 10 West champions, with a victory over number 21 Iowa, 14-10. Before we move on, Kev, just a quick snapshot of college football week 11. If you can give me your feelings wrapped up in a 1-minute summary or less as to where we are now in the season, what you're looking for, and what you learned from this week 11.
So week 11 is that all of the teams that we thought were good went out and showed that they were good. Alabama with their dominance over Mississippi State. Clemson with their dominance over Boston College. I prefaced that game because Boston College's starting quarterback did go out in the first quarter, which really hurt them. They played the entire game, basically, with their second quarterback. I was really looking forward to watching them test Clemson. And unfortunately, when he went out, they were not able to do so. But the teams in the playoffs that are projected to be in the playoffs with Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Michigan right now, they all went out and had impressive performances. Georgia, who is just right on the outside, who will have their chance in 3 weeks against the University of Alabama in Atlanta for the SEC championship, is still in the hunt. And I wouldn't even put Oklahoma out of it because there may be upsets with Ohio State over Michigan. If Syracuse upsets Notre Dame this weekend, and the big game that could impact the entire playoff is what if Georgia beats Alabama? Then you look at, does Alabama still make that playoff, being as dominant as they were all season because the committee is looking at the best team? Do they still make it in over a Michigan at number 4 or over a Notre Dame at number 4? That's the big question. Hopefully, we won't have to find out.
All right. I had one last thing here. So what we have posted right now is the college football playoff rankings. That's on the screen. And basically, as he just mentioned, all of these teams, we're looking at the top 9, all won. Okay. However, the next couple of weeks are going to be extremely interesting as there's going to be some matchups, like we discussed. Alabama and Georgia, Notre Dame with Syracuse and potentially USC, Michigan with Ohio State, Oklahoma with West Virginia. So this whole thing could go crazy, and Washington State could end up in the playoffs. There's no chance Washington State ends up in the playoffs, right? But there is, isn't there?
I'm sorry, the end of that got cut off. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was saying, is there any chance that Washington State makes it if everything goes haywire in the next few weeks?
I think that it would be tough for Washington State to make the playoffs because they are behind currently LSU, who has a tougher strength of schedule than they do. This year, the Pac-12 is down. Your typical powerhouses, Stanford, they're down. You look at Oregon, they're down. You look at USC, they're down. And UCLA, they're down. Even Washington is down. So when you look at the Pac-12, there really aren't any marquee teams there to solidify Washington State's claim to be able to move forward. And I think that will hurt them this year because they don't have the resume to be able to jump in LSU or in Oklahoma or Georgia that are positioned right now to take one of those spots if an upset occurs.
Even if they are the Pac-10, Pac-12 champions.
Even as the Pac-12 champion.
Right. And that's my problem with the whole system, but that's another conversation for another day. We got to move on to cover some NFL. I wanted to touch with you on college basketball also, but we're in a crunch for time, so we're just going to take a quick 3 minutes to run through some college basketball stuff. I want to remind our viewers and our listeners to please comment. Let us know what you're thinking in terms of the college football playoff rankings. Let us know what you're thinking in terms of how these matchups over the next couple of weeks, all of the ifs and maybes and possibilities. How would you like to see it to shake out? Comment, share this video with a friend, download the podcast, like, and follow us, please, on Instagram and on Twitter. Some quick college basketball news. We really can't get into it, so we're just going to touch on a couple of things. G5 will give us the rankings. Duke finally gets to the top of the poll.
Only thing to talk about. That's all you need to talk. That's it.
Duke is number one. We were saying from the beginning we couldn't understand why they weren't number one to start with.
There were 4.
There were 4. And from what I've been reading, this is kind of an unprecedented jump where a team jumps from 4 to 1 and the teams in front of them did not win a game. So we really want to kind of get in depth on some college basketball, but we don't have the time. But the Duke team is trending right now. So have you seen this Duke team, Kevin? And what are you thinking in terms of where they can go in the tournament? And I'm looking at it as a foregone conclusion that they're going to be extremely difficult to beat in the tournament. Final 4 team for sure, and should be a championship team. The only thing that holds me back from being 100% sure is it's a one-game scenario and anything could happen. What do you think about this Duke team? How do they look to you? How do you compare them to other great college basketball teams of the past? And should we even look at them in that way this early in the season?
Well, Joey, I think obviously the Duke team is very talented.
G5?
You know, the way they came out in the championship classic and beat up on Kentucky, I was completely shocked. But, you know, I looked at the Kentucky team as well. You know, with Kentucky, they pride themselves on the recruitment of fabulous freshmen that come out of high school. And Duke's team is a senior team. They're a team that has a lot of leaders on it. And a lot of times the Kentucky teams struggle towards the beginning of the season until those guys get adjusted to the college game and begin to gel. So I was a little surprised by the score that they were able to beat them by that amount. But Duke is definitely a talented team. Mike Krzyzewski, you know, he is one of the legends as far as college basketball. But I'm very upset that we could not see a championship game in that college classic because I think that a seasoned Jayhawk team against that Duke team
would have been interesting.
A great matchup.
It would have, and I would have still picked Duke. You know what I mean? What people aren't getting about Duke is it's not that they have a big 3 that's the top 3 projected in the next NBA draft. It's the skill level, especially of 2 of them. And the skill level of 2 of them is so high that it drowns out the third, who everyone thinks could potentially be just as good.
Reddish is good.
Exactly.
He's good.
Reddish is a beast. RJ's been number 1 in his class since he was in 8th grade. I've been watching him since he was in 8th grade. And, you know, Zion is the internet mania, but he's so much better than a dunker, which is what he's garnered his fame from. So I think this Duke team is really special. I can't recall a time when I've seen 3 players of this type of elite skill and talent be together.
Yeah. When you look at Duke, it's like they're playing with kids.
Right.
Those 3 starters. Right. And the thing about Zion, we also saw all the dunks and stuff. But as I'm watching the first 2 games, I saw the game he played on Sunday against, I think it was the Navy or one of those teams. It was for
I think it was Citadel. No. Army.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at him, and he's a dog, man. He's ready for the trenches.
Yes.
Every loose ball on the floor, he's diving it.
Right.
He's recovering. There was a point where they actually, I think a play happened where he might have got fouled. He just got upset. Like he thought that they should have been just trouncing this team.
Right.
And you see him just like, getting the troops involved, and he just snapped.
Wow.
He came down the court within like 3 or 4 minutes, had 5 blocks, like completely guard the rim all by himself. And I'm talking about like jumping
Right.
above the guy trying to shoot
At
the
6'6".
layup and crushing the ball, like spiking it to the ground. He's handling the rock, taking it coast to coast. And what's nice about it, you would assume that he's going to try to dunk everything and everything's going to be power. Nah.
No.
He's giving you finesse. He's laying the ball off the glass,
Right.
hitting a couple jump shots, and he plays within the game. He doesn't
Right.
press, which is very impressive to me.
His timing, his skill set is incredible. Because he takes off before you're ready for him to take off, and then he makes adjustments while he's in the air
Yeah.
with both hands.
Yeah, but even if you're able to jump with him, he's so strong.
Right.
You can bump him and he won't feel it.
Right.
Like it's crazy. And then Barrett, that's a whole nother story. I mean, he didn't play the best game on Sunday, but the numbers look really good.
Right.
But I'm not going to predict that they go undefeated.
That's impossible.
Yeah, but they will get very close, and they're going to be right there. They would be my favorite to win the
Right.
championship, but I really want to see them play like a Kansas or something like you guys are talking about
Right.
too, just to get a feel. But
Well, it's
man,
going to be it's the battles are going to happen in the ACC with Syracuse, with North Carolina, with Virginia. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, but them boys are ready, and you don't know who to match up against
Yeah.
them. Because let's get Zion, let's take him out of the game. But
No.
then you got Barrett on the other side, and then the other guys they aren't bumps.
No.
Now I did notice Coach K's bench is a little shaky.
But they're all veterans.
Yeah, well they're
They're all veterans.
veterans, but
if any kid that's been at Duke for 3-4 years, I trust them.
yeah.
I trust them to get into the game.
And it's tough for them too because to go from Barrett and Zion, and then you see these other guys come
Yeah,
in,
regular
these
college
little
basketball
little
players.
pipsqueaks. You're like, man, who are these kids?
Regular
You know?
players. All right. Leave a comment about the Duke basketball team. Tell us what you think about Zion, RJ, and Cam Reddish on how they're going to compete this season and what you expect to see from them. And the other interesting question, as an NBA fan, if you're picking at the top of the draft, which one of them would you like?
Zion all day, every day.
I feel the same way. Kev, what do you say? If you could pick one of the three on an NBA squad, which one
I
do you
agree.
take?
I agree with you. I agree with you two on that.
That dude is abnormal.
Is that normal?
Yeah, and it's good to watch. Like he's like, you don't know what he's gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
want to turn your back.
All right. Subscribe, like, comment, share it. Kevin, we're about to jump into NFL. You're welcome to hang on the line and jump in here and there if you would like. Can you do that, or you got to go?
Unfortunately, I got to go.
Okay.
But I do want to thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed the time with you guys.
No, man, thanks.
Let's do it again sometime.
Thank you. This is my favorite receiver.
It's good. It's good having you, man.
Kev, you're my favorite receiver. You know that, right?
And there's some solid information there on that college football too. Very solid.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.